Hello, guys, gals, and other pals. It's Aging Adult, and today I'll be doing another tier list, and I'll be ranking my favorite Dream Theater albums. This will probably isolate my audience to about 10 people, but that's okay. Dream Theater is one of my favorite bands, and I'll be discussing these albums in short and showing you the discographies, or showing you the track listings while I talk about them, and I'll be doing them in chronological order, starting with the youngest, the oldest album, which is When Dream and Day Unite. So let's go to When Dream and Day Unite, 1989. This is a very young Dream Theater band, right out of Berklee School of Music. It was originally Chris Dominici, John Mayung, Mike Portnoy, and John Petrucci. And these fellas created a really interesting album. So just to discuss the songs in short, um, how I feel about them. Um, Fortune Lies is a classic song in my opinion. I return to that and I believe it's The Killing Hand quite often. Those are my two most listened to, and Static is pretty good as well. Uh, they're really easy to digest, and oh, I forgot Moore. Sorry, Kevin Moore was on keyboard before Joe Rudess. This album is not that well produced. It's very old and it shows, but it still has very good songs on it. Obviously, I love Dream Theater, so I'm not gonna be ranking any of these very low anyway. But I will be going across probably to D because I can't just say everything's S tier. That's not how life works. So to start off, I'm gonna put When Dream and Day Unite into the C tier of the Dream Theater discography. Next up, coming in 1992's Images and Words, often regarded as a lot of people's favorite and best Dream Theater albums. Um, I am of that group sometimes, but I will say that it's a wonderful album to listen to. It was still Kevin Moore on keyboard, but they moved on to a new lead vocalist, which is James LaBrie, and that's where a lot of the big changes come. The vocals in Wind Dream and Day and Night are not so stellar. They're not bad, but they sound like a classic rock singer. I think James LaBrie took them to a whole new level on this album specifically. And you hear a lot of his like what he brings to the table on sounds like or on songs like Learning to Live and Surrounded and Take the Time. Like these are songs that he is belting way above my register of singing, and it sounds good. It sounds very good. There's a a note on Learning to Live that I used to try and hit in high school, but it's something that Labrie couldn't hit anymore after he got food poisoning or something along those lines. So this note is something that he can't even reach any longer, according to interviews. I'm not sure if that's still true. But this album contains some of the best Dream Theater songs in the world. Metropolis is definitely one of the top 10 Dream Theater songs, in my opinion. Pull Me Under was one of the few songs that Dream Theater ever had become popular. I believe it aired on MTV. Um, it it reached in 1992 number 2 on the Billboard Top Heat Seekers, and it was also in the Billboard Hot Mainstream Rock Tracks at number 10. Pull Me Under was, and they also had Take the Time and Another Day at 29 and 22. So I feel that's very interesting. This album's amazing, and I would be hard pressed not to rank it any lower than where it definitely belongs. Um, and it belongs in S tier. I think I think it's just too good not to put in S tier. It's something I can go back to at any time, and it's very timeless. It fits in Dream Theater's repertoire from 1992 to 2020. It doesn't stand out as a classic rock album. Even I mean, although it is classic, it's not aged. It aged very well. The next album in chronological order will be 1994's Awake. Awake is a fairly dark album in my opinion. It has a very a funny song that a lot of Dream Theater songs play around Christmas time called 6 o'clock. It begins with this like weird syncopated drum track and it goes 6 o'clock on a Christmas morning. Six and it's this like weird sample from I believe a movie or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter what I know. But there's a lot of like really dark tunes in this album. A lot of, I mean, one specific, very interesting song is Space Divest. It's a song that doesn't really fit with a lot of Dream Theater's like lore based music. The Mirror is an amazing song. Lifting Shadows Off a Dream is a very sweet song in my opinion. Um, Caught in a Web, Innocence Faded. These are two very like classic Dream Theater songs in my opinion. And Erotomania is an amazing instrumental from this album. I don't go back to this album as much as I do other albums, but I still will say it is definitely higher ranking than When Dream and Day Unite. So I will put it in B tier. And I will say like later on, or I will say to put this in context, my first Dream Theater album that I listened to, I believe, was Train of Thought and Octavarium. I was introduced to it in a more of a metal realm than a progressive metal realm, so or even a progressive rock realm. So I had that as my basis for the songs that I was really um, like learning to love Dream Theater through were metal first, and then more progressive metal and prog rock. The next album, Falling into Infinity, released in 1997. I actually like quite a few of these songs on this album. Um, this is a very interesting album. It feels like the 90s. It kind of reminds me of like an old or a 90s like rom-com or like drama, like just because there's a like Hell's Kitchen. It's like really dark instrumental song. Lines of the Sand is really interesting. Burning My Soul is like it just reminds me of like the old MTV days. I don't know. Hollow Years. Oh man, all these songs are basically singles. Like there's no through line of a theme, but I think the album as a whole really shows like where Dream Theater was as a group at the time. Trial of Tears is one of my favorite songs by Dream Theater, and that's where this album, that song lies on this album. Um, I think I think this album gets a bad rap, and I'm not sure why. Um, but either way, I think it's one of my favorite albums by them, and I think it's just so strange, and almost sometimes it doesn't feel like it fits into Dream Theater's discography, but I think people are overlooking like what Dream Theater's about. So I'm gonna also put this in, or I'm actually gonna put this in A tier. I really like this album, and I have no regrets. No regrets. Sorry. Next album, I believe, is 1999's Metropolis Part 2. I couldn't remember if it was 8 or 9. Metropolis Part 2 is technically a sequel to Metropolis Part 1. Scenes from Memory is a very, very, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a theme throughout the entire album. It's a concept album, yes. And the concept is pretty convoluted and interesting and deep. There's a lot of sampling in this album, and there are a lot of bangers in this album. I absolutely love and adore this album. I think one of my favorite songs is on this album. Spirit Carries On. I want that played at my funeral. Um, I couldn't pick a song on this that I would ever skip. I would never skip any of these songs. Even like Overture 1928, like that song is beautiful, and it's just an instrumental of what the rest of the album is going to be like. Um, if anything, the spoken word part and Regression is who cares kind of, but it really sets up the album and shows you what this is going to be about. Um, the story is interesting, but I think what you're here for is the music and the singing. Labrie is at his very strongest on this album, I think. Dance of Eternity, often regarded as one of Dream Theater's best instrumental songs. Um, and I think a lot of these songs fall into my like top 10 Dream Theater songs. Like Home, Spirit Carries On, and Strange Deja Vu are very, very, very good songs in my opinion. And I have to put this in S. There's no way I'm not putting it in S, and I absolutely adore this album. The next album I'll be talking about is, I think it might be 2002. Yeah, 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. Again, hard to say, but it's also one of my favorite Dream Theater albums. This one, oh wow. Blind Faith. Like I did a school project over the song Blind Faith. Um, Labrie is again very strong on this album. The Glass Prison is one of the songs in Portnoy's 12 Steps suite, and it's an amazing song. A lot of this is very political, which is interesting. I never really thought they would go into that um, place of writing music, but it works really well with their music, and I appreciate it. The second half of the album is breathtaking, I would say. Um, Also, pretty pretty good story in that as well. Um, Goodnight Kiss is a bit corny, but that's okay. Solitary Shell also very corny, but it's another one of my favorite songs. Um, I think I think the problem this album has is its length, and that's the only problem it has. It's very very long. You got disc 2 at 42 minutes and disc 1 at 54 minutes, so it can be a bit tiresome at times. But other than that, it's amazing, and I love that it's mentioned here. They preemptively or postemptively, I don't know if that's a word, but on their next album, Train of Thought, the first song opens with the same chord that 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence ends on, which is pretty cool, which continues into Octavarium, their next album. So they're getting really heady at this point. Um, I I don't know what else to say. I love singing to this album. It's one of my favorite albums to sing to. I'm gonna put it in A. So that means we're going Train of Thought. Train of Thought is probably one of their heaviest albums. And again, the first album that I listened to is my introduction to Dream Theater. So it holds a very special place in my heart. Um, every song on this album is full of interest and heavy lyrics, heavy music, and I think a lot of introspection for Dream Theater. Um, a lot of discussion about like who they are as people and where they are in terms of like their family. um, I just read this. Honor Thy Father was written about Mike Portnoy's stepfather. When asked what inspired him to write the song, he stated, "I'm not very good at writing love songs, so I decided to write a hate song." I think that really describes like where this fits in their discography. It's like very, very heavy. Um, In the Name of God is arguably one of the best Dream Theater songs in my opinion. Vacant is one of my favorite songs to sing to. Honor Thy Father has some of the heaviest drums. As I Am is one of the best songs to sing with people. It's just so fun. The album is so much fun for how dark it is. And Stream of Consciousness, again, they have very few fully instrumental songs, but it's definitely one of the better ones. Um, there's a really beautiful cello part in this in Vacant, and I wish they could have made Vacant more than 2 minutes long, considering how long they make all the other songs. But I love Vacant. Um, boy, what an amazing album. Looks like it hit Billboard Top 200 at 53, which is very interesting. I haven't been looking at these things, but um, this album is very, very much inspired a lot by Portnoy. I think a lot of his influences in this album because of how much he loves metal, and that's not a problem. That's just a fact. I'm gonna put this in S tier. It's so holds such a special place for me that I can't not put it there. So the next album I believe will be Octavarium in 2004. 2005. Okay. Dream Theater's Octavarium, one of the few albums to have a song on, I believe, Guitar Hero 3, maybe 4, something like that. Uh, Either way, um, Octavarium, Panic Attack. That's the song that was on, I believe, it was on Guitar Hero. Panic Attack. It's it's good, but the entire album, before Octavarium, the entire album is still very heavy, but a lot more conceptual and I think I've listened to this album too much. I still love it, but I've really gotten um, like some of these songs are a little too corny for me. Like "I'll Walk Beside You" is a great song. It's beautiful, but it doesn't punch enough like the rest of the songs on the album. It would be the one song that I would take out and replace it with something else. If you're gonna keep this idea, like introspection, evil, and your place in life, and like you know, talking about never enough. Uh, I'll Walk Beside You is just kind of goofy. Either way, Octavarium the song. That's the reason we're all here. It's it's amazing. If I were ranking it based on just Octavarium, it would be S tier, but I'm not. Um, Octavarium is very conceptual. There's a lot of boops and bops and hints and Easter eggs and just really interesting callbacks to other songs in this album or in this song. Um, I do love it, but I will have to put it in A. It's not a fault of the album; it's a fault of me. I listened to it almost every time I drove to Oklahoma City because it was the exact time amount that it took me to drive there from Stillwater. So um, I think I've just listened to it too much. But I still love it. It's an A tier for sure. Okay. Look, next would be Systematic Chaos, 2007. Very cool album. I like Systematic Chaos. I forget about Systematic Chaos. Oh, What a track listing. Golly. I I don't know what to say about this other than it's dark, it's heavy, it's very fun to listen to. It's very fun to sing to. It's it's got an earworm in it with constant motion. Um, Forsaken is such a great belter, and In the Presence of Enemies Part One and Two are like beautifully written and so melodic. Oh, Ministry of Lost Souls too. It's hard with Dream Theater because I like every song, so I don't know how to rank against each other or against each album. So I do like this more than Octavarian though. The more I think about it, um, I wouldn't change a thing about this album. I think Petrucci is just too good at writing, and it's not fair how good he is at writing and playing guitar. This is Matt Chaos. Oh, I can't have so many S tiers, but I have to. I love this album. Okay, okay, gotta step away. Gotta stop thinking about it. I did it already. It's done. The next album will be Black Clouds and Silver Linings. Um, Another, they kept getting really dark um, after their political album with 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. They've been pretty dark their whole time, but I think just musically, um, this album is where it gets like the most metal, or some of the most metal songs, but also some of the most like dark lyrics and some like goofiest lyrics too. I love the song Count of Tuscany, but it is such a goober song. I will say that on the special edition, they have a cover album which covers a handful of songs that are amazing covers. Stargazer and Tenement Funster, Flick of the Wrist, Lily Valley, they're like perfect covers of the Queen and Rainbow songs. And then Mark's Tongue in Aspic Part 2, really great. Take Your Fingers by the Hair, awful song. I don't know why they did this. I hate that song. It's so bad. I can't listen to it. I really can't. But that might be something that sets this above other albums, but I don't think it'll be that high. Nightmare to Remember is too. It's really good, but sometimes every time Portnoy does something in it, it's just too corny. And that's awful. It's just so hard to listen to sometimes. Shattered Fortress is beautiful. Another one of Portnoy's 12 Step Sweet songs. Best Times. I cry every time. Count of Tuscany is so corny. It talks about wine with my brother. I can't, I can't. I just can't not laugh at it. Um, but the covers are very good. I'm hard pressed to put this anywhere, but in B tier. Uh, it's unfortunate, but that's where it belongs for me. Next, we have a dramatic turn of events. This album was the first album after Mike Portnoy left in 2009. Um, a really funny story. Me and one of my best friends, Chance, were at a Paramore concert on his birthday, September 9th, 2009. And we got news like on our phones that Portnoy had left Dream Theater, and we were just sitting there at this Paramore concert on the grass, just like dumbfounded that this happened. Oh, September 8th, 2010. I'm a year off and a day off. Well, sue me. Okay, so September 8th, 2010, Mike Portnoy leaves Dream Theater. He cited better relationships and other projects, burnout, and his desire for a break as reasons for leaving. Um, so apparently, Portnoy did not want to leave the band, and he only wanted to take a break. But the rest of the band rejected his proposal, and so Portnoy decided to quit. This is the first album without Mike Portnoy as the drummer for Dream Theater, and it was very hard for me and my best friend Chance to accept for a minute before this album came out. So they had a very cool YouTube drummer audition. So fun. Um, I think I was rooting for Marco Miniman, uh, and I think Derek Roddy was pretty cool as well. But ultimately, Mike Mangini became the drummer. He was a previous professor at Berklee School of Music, where a handful of the members attended. And John Petrucci wrote the drum parts for the drummer, whoever it was going to be. So he already wrote the parts, and that meant that this album was heavily influenced by John Petrucci, not just the music, the lyrics, and the guitar parts, but also the drum parts. And this album came out amazing. I think initially people weren't so keen on it, but I love this album. Um, I remember being very impressed by the songs on this album. Backs of Angels is a chugger in the beginning. I love that. Build Me Up, Break Me Down. So fun. Such a fun song. Lost Not Forgotten. A lot of these songs are like earworms. A lot of these songs get stuck in my head. Bridges in the Sky is the first time I ever wanted to learn how to throat sing, which I did. Thank you, Bridges in the Sky. I have a new talent because of you. A very cool song. Oh, this song is just full of it's not as um thematic as a lot of other Dream Theater stuff, but it was the first time where Dream Theater was like, okay, we have a reset. Let's explore our roots, and it reminds me a lot of Octavarium. Reminds me a lot of Systematic Chaos. Just a couple years back, like 5 to 6 years from 2011 when this came out, right? Is that when this came out? Yes. Okay, maybe more than that. Yeah, 5 or 6 years. So it took a turn back in Dream Theater's discography, and I think that makes me like it just as much as a lot of these in A. I couldn't say it's on par with the S tiers, but it's definitely an amazing album. Next in line, we have their self-titled album Dream Theater. This is the first time where Mike Mangini was involved in the writing with the rest of the band. There are some wonderful songs on this album, but I think it lacked a lot of the luster of um, previous albums. Um, there's nothing bad about any of these songs either. Uh, the instrumental Enigma Machine is very cool. Um, the 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 big track Illumination Theory is very cool to listen to as well. Very good song. Enemy Inside, that's a very good earworm as well. Uh, I'm not sure. It doesn't nothing. I don't go back to this album as much as any of the other ones. Um, but upon my like initial listens, I definitely liked it a lot more than than the B tiers. So I'd have to say it probably belongs. It belongs in like B.5, but I don't think it's on par with the A. So I'm gonna put it in the B tier. Oh god, I forgot. um, the next project by Dream Theater is The Astonishing. Now, I have so many feelings about The Astonishing that I don't know how to word my thoughts. In theory, in concept, this is a cool idea. Um, there are some very good songs on this album. I did like quite a bit of the album, but I think it has that affliction that other musicals have, where there are a lot of very boring parts and uninteresting parts because you're writing an entire story based on music. Now, I also would say that I don't think Petrucci is good enough to intertwine a story with this much interest. And I would say that this is a perfect wording of my reception. In retrospect, Dream Theater have observed that the fan response to The Astonishing was mixed, which the band anticipated would be the case because of the unique nature of the project. In an interview with Eddie Trunk, John Petrucci explained the album was so immersed in the story, everything had to do with that. That there was no question that it was going to alienate certain people that weren't on board with it. And that's exactly what happened. Some people really were. This is the coolest thing ever and got into it. Got into the whole story and the theatrics. And some people were like, I want normal Dream Theater. And I think I fell into that camp of I want normal Dream Theater. I don't necessarily have a problem with the album in itself. I just think that they could have done something better, condensed everything, and just kept the parts that were good and had a good album. There's more weakness than strengths, I think, in this album, and that's my issue with it. That's why I don't like it as much as everything else. It's very cool. Uh, I just it's not my cup of tea. It's like you know how there's like um you have like Call of Duty, right? And you have like Battlefield. Let's say Call of Duty and Battlefield are Dream Theater. But then you have a game like Medal of Honor, which was good. You know, Medal of Honor is a good game back in the day when Call of Duty and like Call of Duty 3 and Battlefield Bad Company 2 were out. Medal of Honor was a game that I liked, but it was nowhere near good as Battlefield Bad Company 2 and Call of Duty 3. That's how I'm looking at this. So I'm gonna put this boy in C tier. He does not deserve D tier by any means. The last album is my least listened to album by Dream Theater. Uh, this album came out in 2019, which was last year, in February. Now, February of last year, I was very busy. I was doing interviews and preparing interviews for grad school and making sure that I was going to be successful. So I haven't had a lot of time with this album. I will say I liked it. I know I liked it for sure. Untethered Angel is very good. Paralyzed is very fun. Room 137 is cool. And I liked Pale Blue Dot. I remember those things. Um, I'm not going to be able to give this a ranking because I have not had nearly as much time with it as I have with everything else. And I will even say I didn't listen to The Astonishing very many times because I just couldn't. And I knew immediately that I liked a couple songs, and it was very obvious what I didn't like. So I have to put The Astonishing. No, this is over time. Sorry, and haven't listened because I don't think it deserves a D rank or anything like that. It's either haven't listened or B for now. So I'll just put it in B because I don't really know where else I could put it. But that's on me. I think that's my homework is to give this album a listen. And I think what you guys should do is look at your favorite artists and see what you think about their albums. It's very difficult to think about when you really like everything they do because I don't I don't necessarily think these things are any worse than these other than I'm not going to put everything in S tier because it's not true. So I have to split it up and say like these are the reasons why I think it's a C tier, but I wouldn't say on surface level it's a C, like it gets a C as an album. It just gets a C in relation to SAB. I guess I hope that makes sense. Either way, thanks for watching. Um, hit the like if you like. Hit dislike if you didn't like. Go and subscribe if you would like to see more. I plan on doing. I like these tier list videos. Um, I think I would like to do a top 100 or top 50 or whatever it is, Billboard top songs, and see if I know them and I want to listen to them and then rank those. Um, I think it'd be very interesting to figure out like stuff I don't know. So thanks for watching. Um, have a good week, day, year, everything. Smile more.